Hi, I'm Mateusz from Board Game Colors, and today we're going to paint a mechanic character from Nemesis the board game. This guy has a lot going on his artwork, but I don't really think I'm able to translate much of it to the mini. I've gone with an orange mechanic suit, dark metallic armor, and gear with some colorful buttons and some glowy pipes and equipment. Cast of the mechanic is much better than Scout's. It has only one clearly visible mold line. Yet removing it was a little challenging. It is just hard to reach it with the hobby scalpel. But with some peeling and some scrubbing, you'll get a good enough effect. Also, don't worry if it's not smooth. We will hide it with the paint later on. Let's start with a face, as it needs the best grip, and while painting it, we could damage paint on the rest of the figure. After that, I'll paint suit parts, cause they are a little harder to reach. So let's prepare paints for the face. I will use Citadel Cadian Fleshstone, Mechanicus Standard Grey, Palette Witch Flesh, and Scale Color Intensity Red. Cadian is our mid-tone, so I'm going to mix it with other colors to get shadow and light. Red ink is there to help us saturate colors if they get too dull. And they definitely did in my case. After I mixed my basic skin colors, I also added some of Scale 75 Abyssal Blue to my wet palette. Later on we will use it to paint eyes. Now on to painting. Oh, in the last episode I told you I will fix a quality issue with the close-up shots. So tell me, what do you think about them now? As you can see, sculpt of his face lacks detail, so we can't really use classical wash plus highlight technique. So let's start by applying our shadow color on all of the skin area, face, arms and palms. Don't forget about his elbows. After it is dry, use Abyssal Blue to paint around his eye and on his mouth. If we're lucky, it will be still visible later on. Painting eyeballs is challenging. I recommend you hold your mini tight, supporting the back of its head with one finger. Just wash the finger first. Believe me, you don't want any sweat or fat on your figure. Put your wrists together for greater stability and use your best brush. You also don't want to overload it with the paint. A tiny bit on the tip is enough. If you are happy with the previous step, let's paint pupils. This figure is tiny, so we don't really need to paint dots. Try to paint a vertical line in the middle of the white area with Abyssal Blue. Don't worry if you go outside of the area, we will clean it up in a moment. Most of the time eyes end up too big. What to do? We don't want an anime character. There is one simple solution. Use a dark color to paint around them to make them smaller. Just go slowly with a tiny little moves. If you mess up, you can easily start again or just leave the dark area. It will still look like a shadow. I don't know about you, but I am satisfied with this step. So let's proceed. Get your mid-tone color and paint the face. I recommend you start from the top, painting eyebrows and nose. Then around the eyes to make the dark area smaller. Also try to leave some shadow color on the bottom of the nose and in between the lips. When painting the neck, mix your mid-tone with some shadow color so it's darker than a face. You might also leave a darker line just below his jaw. Do similar steps with arms and fingers. Next, let's get our highlight color and paint cheeks, chin, upper lip and nose. Same thing applies to his fingers, elbow, and top of his arms. Also, mixing some of this color with red and painting his lips might be nice. Now we can stop holding our breaths. The hard part is behind us. Painting orange will be much easier. I use Citadel Doombull Brown, Troll Slayer Orange, and Fire Dragon Bright. Also, I will have my scale color intensity red and yellow, just in case if I need some more saturation. Mix them together so you get a transition between shadow and highlight colors. This time I use my mid-shadow color first, because if I start any darker, painting highlights will be much harder as orange paints don't have that great coverage. I'm painting all over his suit and some armor parts, just being careful not to touch his skin. After I'm done, I use pure Doombull Brown to paint darkest parts under the arms and legs. When it's ready, let's paint parts that get more light with our midtone. This means his arms, stomach, buttocks, and top of his hat. Just try leaving parts that are facing downwards darker. Final highlight is easy. Just use the brightest color inside the areas you painted previously, only making them smaller. Some of you might ask why I'm not blending these colors together. Answer is simple. I don't believe it's worth it on such a tiny model. But if you like, I can make a video about it in the future. Okay, let's clean up armor parts. I'm doing this the same way as I did in my previous video, using Abyssal Blue. But any type of dark or even black paint will do. When the base color is dry, use some kind of steel metallic paint. I use Citadel Runefang Steel. Let's apply it on all armor parts, but leaving some darker areas between different surfaces. The easiest way to achieve that is to pick them with the side of your brush. It won't look that great at first, but when you use some wash or ink, it will blend together nicely. Or, like in my case, you will just hate it. It is too bright. Okay, I changed my mind. I want this armor to be much darker, almost black. To get there, I'm using Liquitex black ink, but if you don't have it, mix some black paint with black wash. In example, Citadel Nuln Oil might get you the similar effect. When applying it, watch out not to load too much on your brush. It flows easily and might spill on already painted areas. After you apply ink on all metallic areas, let it rest a few minutes until it's dry. Now let's clean up the rest of the model. We could easily paint it all metallic, but we would lose a lot of visual interest. So I'm using Abyssal Blue again to paint over the backpack, valves, some panels, and pipes. After it is dry, I use Vallejo Glacier Blue to prepare all the parts that we want to glow or have some vibrant colors. In this case, pipes and buttons. Just try to paint only on top of those parts, leaving some dark lights around. Also, if you want your pipes to have uneven glow, try to paint some small dots on them instead of even lines. I didn't know what to do with a backpack until now, but I feel like making it dark orange will add some balance to this part of the figure, so I simply painted it with what I had on my wet palette. Also, there was some strange area on the right side of the backpack, so I decided it is a fuel tank from now on, and I painted it with red ink. Next step is picking up some details. First, let's paint a frame of the backpack with Runepunk steel. It's easy, just use the side of the brush. Next, get some colors on the buttons. I used pure red, yellow and blue paints, but any bright color will do. Again, to make it simple, use the side of your brush. Finally, let's finish up glowy parts. It is simple, just paint over them with a blue ink. Just watch out not to load your brush too much. You might also mix some ink with water in about 2:1 proportions and paint areas near the light source, but I don't feel it's necessary in this case. Next, mix some blue ink with a glacier blue and paint tiny dots and lines on top of glowy parts. Just try not to paint more than 30% of them, or you will lose the glow effect. Only part left now is the visor, so why not to have some fun with it? First, paint it with, you guessed it, Abyssal blue. Next, mix some of it with a lot of glacier blue and paint some parallel lines, making an uneven strip across the visor, and the second one on the side. Then add some tiny dots in the middle of previous stripes using glacier blue. When you feel it looks like a reflection, paint over it with a blue ink. Then mix some of it with a glacier blue and paint in the middle of reflections again. This time don't wait until it's dry. It will get you a little smoother finish this way. I almost forgot about this rug he has around his belly. I feel it should be dirty. All mechanics have some stained rugs, don't they? I simply painted it with Citadel Ushabti bone. Then mixed this color with brown to get a shadow color, and with Pallid Wych Fresh to get highlights. Next, I used Daler and Rowney sepia ink to make stains, but again, you might use just wash or shade instead for the lesser effect. I simply painted some dots with my ink, watching out not to leave too much of it on the figure. And yes, you just saw me cleaning it up with my finger. Please, don't judge me too harshly. After that, I did the same thing as with the previous figures. Dry brushed a base with metallics, washed over it with a mix of black paint and red ink, diluted with water, and in the end, sealing the whole miniature with varnishes. And it's finished. High five, partner. I like how he ended up with some kind of retro science fiction style. He kind of reminds me of Ghostbusters with his backpack, colorful buttons and glowy pipes around his suit. So what about you? Do you start painting already having a plan in your mind? Do you often change it during the process? Please answer me in comments. Also, I wouldn't mind if you leave thumbs up or even subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.